We'll get started here shortly. We are just waiting for our chair and our vice chair. So tonight, our agenda is to accept the bylaws. My name is Kristen Hange. I'm the secretary for the Indigenous Peoples Caucus. I'll turn my screen on for a moment. Okay, we have our chair and our vice chair here. So Rojo, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
There you go. Hello, everyone. Welcome in to our May 19 general meeting for the Indigenous Peoples Caucus. Glad to have all of you here. Since it's still the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and put a message on the Facebook just to remind folks, because this is the last meeting that we have before we meet in person. Very exciting. Who's here is going to El Paso? Can I see some hands or some comments? Who's going to El Paso? Perfect, perfect. I know that there'll be some folks that are going to be hosting us over there, and we're still planning on maybe some activities or fun things that we could do out there. So if anybody here has any ideas, I have a friend of mine who wants to really go on a morning hike. I don't know about waking up at 5 a.m. on Saturdays, but thankfully I'm right now in Central Time. So, I'm trying to figure out exactly what what this would look like, because it's early, but I've heard great things from the views in El Paso. To Ciudad Juarez and Big Bend, just 2 hours away. I may even do a little road trip myself. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just get us started. I believe now we can go ahead and get started with the meeting, right, Kristen? Or are we still waiting?
Yes, no, I think we're good. If we want to do any quick introductions while I double check our voting members and non-voting members, and then just let everyone know that we're going to send non-voting members to the waiting room temporarily to accept the bylaws, but we can do introductions first.
Thank you. Well, you get everything. So I'll go ahead and get us started. Then I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Taylor. And then Taylor, maybe if you want to pass it to the rest of the executive team, so you can go ahead and introduce all of us introduce ourselves. Once again, my name is Rojo or Rogelio Meijueiro. Use he, they pronouns. And I stay in the Wichita, Caro, and the affiliated tribes territory, which we call now Arlington, Texas. It's a lot of traffic out here. So Arlington and traffic go hand in hand for me. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it down to Taylor. Oh, and I am the chair of the Indigenous Peoples Caucus, but I think I mentioned that. Taylor?
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Trevino. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the vice chair of the caucus. So glad to see so many people here today. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Al.
I am Al Durante. I am the treasurer of the Indigenous Peoples Caucus. I live slightly above Michael in Gregg County, Texas. And actually, I think we met in Marshall a couple of years ago, briefly. So hi down there in Henderson, and I'll pass it to Martine. Wait, is Martine here? Yes, Martine.
Of course I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Hi, you all. I am Martin Sainz. I am the events coordinator for the caucus, and I'm happy to see as many people as I can see. I see one of our former executive board members here, Stephen. Hello, Stephen. Nice to see you again, brother. And I pass it to I guess I'll pass it to Stephen.
Aomitakiapi Michelo Stephen Silva Brave. I am a citizen of the Shishagu Lakota Nation. That's the Rosebud Sioux tribe of South Dakota. But I live in near the same area that Rojo lives in the unceded lands of the Caddo and Wichita and affiliated tribes in between Dallas and Fort Worth. And yeah, I'm just glad to be here and listen in and see what's going on and what we can do for the American Indian and Indigenous community. And I will pass it to Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Baird. I am from Brazoria County, Texas. I'm not affiliated with the tribe, but I am an ally. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm also running for Justice of the Peace in my area, precinct 4. So I am just very excited to be here. This is all very new and very wonderful to me. So thank you all very much. And I guess is it David? Pass
I'm
it to
here.
David.
I'm David Lowry. I'm 1/8 Cherokee, and I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation. And I love to see all of you. And let's just have a real good time. And I was an assistant judge in the last election, so I'm here to do anything y'all would like me to do.
Thank
So
you.
I guess pass it on.
I do want to say hello to the folks on the chat as well. If you are just now coming in, we are sharing in the chat where you're calling from, your name, any pronouns that you prefer, and maybe any positions that you're running for. I don't think we have to go around and tell everybody unless you would like to be recognized and and share where you're calling from, verbally instead of on the chat. So I'll open it. Would anyone like to introduce themselves and where they're calling today? A lot of candidates on the chat. I love to see that.
I can start. I'm Michael Fladmark. I live in Toole, Texas, which is Henderson County. And I'm not a member of a tribe, but I am a affiliate at heart. And I am running for state elector, but I'm currently a county chair. I'm the SD3 committee man. I'm not rerunning for election, and I'm the CD5 caucus co-convention chair. So it's a pleasure to meet everyone, and I fully support this mission. So
Thank you, Michael. And I see
Thank you, Michael.
You can go ahead, and then if anybody else would like to just share briefly where they're calling from, who they are, and what they're running for, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll explain y'all a little bit of what's going on today, and I'll pass it back to Kristen. Go ahead, Daryl. You may want to unmute yourself. We'll wait for a second, but if not, I'm gonna go ahead and just let you know.
Hey, yeah, so sorry. Oh, very sorry. Yeah, my name is Daryl Evans. I'm running here in Collin County for Texas House District 89. I'm not a member of a tribe or in this caucus, but I want to listen and listen to other communities because I don't just represent folks that look like me, and I want to make sure that I'm using my privilege to elevate other communities. So again, running here in 89 against an absolute crazy person. Go ahead and look it up. But I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in El Paso, and thank you very much.
Thank
Philip,
you so much.
why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
You asked for me, Al?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Philip Reese. I'm a current member of the IPC group here, the caucus. Was a former county chair for Caldwell County for over 25 years. And I'm also right now serving as a political advisor for the caucus. I am also, on a side note, running for SDC State Executive Committee man for Congressional District 27, which runs from Bastrop, Caldwell County, all the way to Corpus. And if you're from that area, I would appreciate your vote and support. And that's it. I'll give it back to Al. Thank you,
Al. Rojo, I guess give it back to you. Although I didn't mention that I am running for CD1 committee persons. Get that in there. Hey, everybody else did, so I'm this.
Yeah, I'm also running for FPC Hispanic committee man at the convention. So I am asking for all the Hispanos for your vote, please.
Make sure you both add it on the chat as well so that it is recorded from the notes for this meeting. And yes, just explaining all of you all once again that we are going to be placing folks on a different breakout room. If you are not a voting member, we just did the verification on everybody earlier today. And it is because we are going to be passing our slate today of the people that are eligible to run for leadership for this another 2 terms here in the IPC. The deadline, I believe, was 2 or 3 weeks ago. But with that, I'll pass it to Kristen.
Thank you, Rojo. I'm about to put in the chat our membership form link. There's a few of you here tonight that have not yet filled out our membership form. And doing so will just request to be a voting member. And what we do to check to see that you're eligible to be a voting member is we just check to see that you're a Democrat in Van. So right now I'm going to send just about 5 people to the waiting room so that our voting members can accept our bylaws. And it'll be roughly about 5 minutes or so, no longer than 10, that you should be in the waiting room. So I'm going to drop that link one more time for anybody who missed it. Go ahead and copy that link, and that should you especially want to fill that out prior to the convention, so that when you come to the convention, you are already credentialized to be a voting member for the caucus. And so just give me 2 minutes. You're welcome to take the floor again, Rojo, while I'll notify you when I've completed sending people to the waiting room.
Absolutely, that works. And Michael, do you have a question?
Well, I was going to ask about how do we know whether I submitted an application earlier, and I don't know if I'm a voting member or not. So how do we know?
I second that question because I don't think I've filled anything out myself.
And you've been with us for a while, Clayton. Well, I'm glad we're doing the form.
Clayton, you did fill one out probably closer to 2022. So we accepted our full term, so 2022 to 2024. If you filled that out at any time in the past 2 years, and you're a Democrat, you are a voting member.
Okay.
All right.
Is that also applied for Michael? Michael, have you filled it
Yeah,
out?
Michael. Taylor just said that Michael's good, so I guess she
Okay.
checked.
I did. Thank you so much.
And Stephanie also, I think, said she filled out a form earlier. Is that correct, Stephanie?
Yes, Stephanie, you're good as well.
And I think I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but this would be also a good time to remind you, and we'll put it on Facebook. If you're not going to be attending the El Paso convention, we will be streaming the meeting, so that folks can tune in and see it virtually. Also, we have our socials, so we'll do a really good job in making sure that we showcase everything going on that weekend. Since I know not many folks can make the trip to El Paso, from Dallas, it's about 9 hours. So I completely understand for folks that are a bit farther than me to get there. And then I mentioned this before, we just had to solidify, but we will, we also have an opportunity to support folks with housing. It's not that many openings, so it is more on like 1-by-1 case. If you are interested in still going and are still looking for affordable housing to be able to make it, just reach out to me and we'll be able to work something out. For transportation, I believe the Democratic parties from particularly the cities are going to be leading a bus. So I'll be taking the one from Dallas or Fort Worth. And I encourage folks to maybe make that drive to one of the big cities and then be able to ride with the bus. I know Houston, Austin, and San Antonio are also taking a bus.
Yes, piggyback on what Rojo was saying here in Dallas. For anybody who know we have a deadline by June the I think it's June the 1st or 2nd, but it is $50 to go and come back from from the Dallas Democratic Party to El Paso. And so and plus if you're a precinct chair, it's actually $10 less if you're interested to go with the Dallas County Democratic Party. Okay, and I guess we'll go to what's our next agenda.
So I believe I put everyone in the waiting room who is not a voting member, and I'm sharing our bylaws at the moment. We did our first reading at our last general membership meeting. And so do we need to read through this again, or do we want to, as the general membership, make a motion to accept the bylaws? Philip, what's the best practice?
Since the best practice will be just motion to accept the bylaws as presented, because this is the accumulation of what, about a year and a half worth of work.
That's so good.
It's been about a
You
year,
want
I
to make
think,
the
right?
motion? So you want to make the motion, Dave, Philip?
If he's the chair, he cannot make it. Is he the chair of our meeting right now?
Yeah,
No,
Rojo
Rojo's
is.
the chair.
Okay. Go for it.
This is Philip. I move that we adopt the bylaws of the Indigenous Peoples Caucus for the Texas Democratic Party, dated April 19th, 2024. That's my motion.
I second.
Is there any discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of approving the bylaws of the Indigenous Peoples Caucus of the Texas Democratic Party, dated April 4th, April 19th, 2024. Please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Those in abstention? The ayes have it. The bylaws for the Indigenous Peoples Caucus of the Texas Democratic Party, dated April 19th, 2024, are hereby adopted and will be forwarded to the Texas Democratic Party at the earliest convenience. Okay, thank you.
But before we do that, do we need to correct it to May 19th? Not April?
so this was when it was last edited, but what I can do is, oops, we need to add our date of adoption at the end.
Yeah.
And so that will be down here. These bylaws were approved by the statewide general membership meeting of the Indigenous Caucus on, and then let's put the date.
May 19th. Yay. Whew, so much work we did on that.
2024. And so we can update the date at the top.
You know, it's so nice to see that with that date already done, approved.
5/19. These bylaws were approved by the statewide general membership meeting of the Indigenous Peoples Caucus on May 19th, 2024. And then we have to update it.
It's no longer a draft either.
You're right. It's 5/19, exactly a month later. Thank you, sir. Bylaws.
One more update, the bottom, next one. Just change the month. Perfect.
Did I get, let's change the 05. Bylaws, Indigenous Peoples Caucus, updated 2024-05-19. 19. All right, I think we are good. So I'm going to stop sharing now.
Let's give everybody a big round of applause for approving our bylaws after we've done for so many months we worked on it.
Are we ready to admit everyone back from the waiting room?
I think we are.
I hope so.
Thank you everyone for waiting in the waiting room patiently. And Rojo, I'll give it back to the chair.
Great, thank you so much. Y'all have no idea how exciting this is. It's definitely, I think, 2 years in the making, but I do want to honor the folks that started by showing up as Native American, Indigenous, First Nations to the Democratic Conventions since back in 2012. I believe it was the first registered meeting. So I think, it's relentless, and I think it's necessary that we continue because it does feel like a step closer to really achieving what we are ultimately looking for, right? Which is improving the life of Native American, Indigenous, and First Nations in the state of Texas and beyond. So I will say, welcome everybody else who is not a voting member, but hopefully you'll be becoming a member soon so you can attend our meeting in El Paso. I'll repeat it again. If you're not able to make it, we're gonna be streaming the meeting. So just be in the lookout for a link. And we do have a meeting, actually, a general biannual meeting happening following that convention for folks that are not able to attend and do not want to wake up at 7 a.m. or watch the recording. But we will be meeting annually for the Sunday, like we often do, the third Sunday of the month. I do remind folks that if you would like to be a speaker in one of the meetings, or if you know somebody that you believe needs to be a speaker in these meetings, our monthly meetings, please get with Martin. Martin is here on the chat today. I'm sure he can provide his information, and you can find him on Facebook, Instagram, and even Slack, where is what we use for communications, right? With that, I believe now we can get to the actual agenda, right, Kristen? After the bylaws approval?
Yes. So we were going to talk about safety at the convention, and then if there were any candidates present for other offices, like their regional, or if they're running for DNC member or anything regarding the convention. I believe that was our agenda for tonight. I do have a link that I'm going to drop here in a minute that's got, if you could please RSVP to the June 7th convention caucus meeting. So I will drop that here in a minute, but go ahead, Rojo, with the agenda.
Yes, 1 second. I'm jumping to the document, the portable. All right. So I know I just mentioned to you, here is the form as well, because I think you can reach out to Martin, but it's also this one right here. Of course, the ones that Kristen sent, and then the one I should send you is the form if you would like to be a speaker, or so Martin can have that information from you. Let me see. Kristen, I'm not finding the portable. I have the draft bylaws, approval, safety at the convention. Okay.
I don't know that there's a boardable for tonight.
Okay. And Diane, I got your question. I will get with Martin so we can send that to you, and we'll post it on the Facebook if that's helpful for the information on the bus. But we would love to have there for sure. Well, the biggest chunk of the conversation before we open the floor for you all to introduce yourselves if you're running for anything, and for us to note that on the agenda for today, is the safety for the convention, right? There is already a few ideas, and if you attended your county convention, they spoke about the safety there, particularly because, as some of you all know, we are turning an anniversary just recently for the El Paso shooting. And I think when we talk about targeting and what's happening, and then our governor, as you all know probably better than me, our governor then doing these symbolic actions where he pardoned somebody that actively ran and spoke about hurting, right, the First Amendment of the Black Lives Matter protesters in Austin. And then going out of his way to pardoning him, I think is showcasing and really just putting it loud and clear that he is standing with an extreme white supremacist agenda that has no room in the Texas Democratic Party, and particularly has no room in this convention and in the Indigenous Peoples Caucus. So as we approach the convention, I do want to open the floor and kind of welcome y'all's comment on how to keep ourselves safe. We often use the term "we keep us safe." I believe the Texas Democratic Party spoke about how they're going to be doing their best in keeping us safe. But if you attended the Dallas convention, it was huge. And I do remember not necessarily any incidents, but there were some cases where people didn't feel super safe because it was so open. I believe there was also like a small counter protesters from the Republican Party that time in Dallas. So I'm not sure exactly what it's going to look like in El Paso. But yeah, feel free to go ahead and raise your hand if you have a comment regarding safety. Oh, go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, in regards to the El Paso convention, just be prepared. You will go through metal detectors as you walk into the convention. So you are not allowed to bring any weapons like knives or anything into the convention because it will be detected by those walking like the TSA metal detectors that they have there. We will be having those at every entrance of the convention. So just be prepared for that. And I see Anna has her hand up.
Since I live here in El Paso, first of all, I want to welcome you. You will find El Paso to be a very warm and friendly city. Even though the media always puts out all of the negative, and it's all scare tactics, people. I have not had any problems. I live within 3 blocks from the fence that people can, if they want to try to enter illegally. I've never had any problems, and you can drive safely throughout the city to different restaurants. You don't have to just confine yourself to the downtown area. The other thing is that our convention center is extremely small compared to all of the other convention places that we've been. The parking is right underneath. You go up the elevator and you go directly into the convention center. And yes, there's not a lot of rooms, and that's why everything has changed this year in terms of how people are meeting and the times that they are meeting. But I'm surprised that everybody has overreacted, in my opinion, about safety, because we have been, for the last 10 years, known as one of the top 5 safest cities in the United States. So come with an open heart. You are welcome. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ana Perez. Anyone else that would like to share maybe their comments or concerns, questions? I will say that the Texas Democratic Party 2 years ago had, and they started implementing this, and I believe they're going to continue doing it. They do have somebody on site that plays a role of security. And I know 2 years ago, somebody lost an item and they just went to this person. They're often in the entrance and they'll be walking around the building. I believe it's going to be the same thing here in El Paso. Anybody else? Comments, concerns, questions?
I guess if we're doing introductions already and what positions we're running for, I'll rock and roll with that. I am Martin Sainz. I am running for SDEC, Hispanic Committee Man, and I'm also running for CD6 for the Congressional District number 6, and I'm also running for an elector for the party. So I'm hoping I can count on y'all's votes, but the main one I'm hoping to get is the SDC Hispanic Committee Man. If you're going to be going to the Hispanic caucus, I am hoping I can count on your vote And whoever is running next, let's rock. Let's roll. Let's rock and roll. I guess I pass it to Al.
I am also running for CD chair, co-chair in District 1, as I said earlier. The reason I'm running largely is because I think that we need more attention. I mean, it's kind of a two-way street, but I think rural areas or non-urban, outside of the big population centers need more attention. If we're going to win statewide elections, every vote counts. So even if you don't carry a county, those votes are going to count, and we need to get the vote out. And I think something like a state-led, top-down, coordinated campaign program would go far in turning Texas around. I'm also actually have my name in to be a national delegate, but that's just because I'd like to go. Gotta be honest there. I'm gonna pass it to Stephanie since she's running.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Baird. I'm running for Justice of the Peace here in Brazoria County. Brazoria County is, we have almost 400,000 people. We're just south of Harris County, which is, Houston. We're largely rural, but we are getting a larger influx of those blue votes, particularly in my area, which is nice. And we have a wonderful group of people down here. Our county's so big, we have a north and a south, Democrat Party, and we are doing our best to ally ourselves with the Black community, the BIPOC community in general, and we have as small as our little town is, we have Brazoria County Pride, so we're trying to ally ourselves. I am trying to ally myself. Because I just too much bad stuff has gone on for too long, and I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it, and I think 2020 was a huge turning point for me, and so this has been a wonderful experience, and I cannot wait to meet all of you. And I'll pass it to who else is running?
I see Perla.
Oh, yes, there she is.
Hi guys, my name is Perla Bojorquez. I am running for state representative in District 93. It is North Fort Worth. I have a lot of the suburb areas, Keller, if you guys have heard about that at all. My opponent is a book banner, very oppressive. The language that he's using is what Abbott has been using and all of the policies and things like that. So definitely want to get him out of the area. But I'm running to give the funding to the schools. We have 4 huge school districts in our district. We are millions of dollars in deficits, each of our school districts, and they're firing half the librarians in one district. They fired the IT in the other district. Our district, we're trying to grow, but we can't because we don't have the money. So really my priority is to get the funding to those public schools. Aside from my candidacy and race, I did want to speak to somebody in El Paso. My opponent has a nonprofit where they're mobilizing the people through the churches, but they're basically a hate group. Fort Worth has been trying to get them to stop, but he just started a chapter in El Paso. And when I saw that, I was like, oh no, like who do I call in El Paso to warn them of how terrible this person is? But just hello, welcome, or thank you for having us. I am part Yaqui on my father's side. I don't have any papers, I don't have anything to prove it, but my bloodline, just DNA, I guess you can say. But other than that, just thank you guys for being vocal on what's important to our communities and really just stepping up in every corner of Texas to kind of push back on hate and oppression, because it's time that we cannot sit silently. We cannot be passive about it. It's time to speak up and protect our friends and families and communities. So thank everybody who's doing that in their corner of the world. I don't know who to pass it to.
I believe Stephen, if you're available to speak, you're running for DNC member at large, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I don't really have much more to say other than that. Yeah, I'm running for that, and yeah, but I won't be able to be in El Paso. I don't know how that affects things.
I think it's an electronic ballot, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I'm running for that. So that's I don't have a lot to add to it. So.
Yes. Hey, Stephen, also in regards to that, you also need to start working on a campaign so people can start talking about voting for you and stuff, and put it out there on Facebook and stuff so people can see that you are running for an at-large position to be a delegate to the national convention.
Okay, yeah. We'll talk about it on the side. For those who don't know me, I'm really involved in the Native American community and in activism, and then I'm in school to get a PhD, and I do research and all that. I'm like barely hanging in there with politics, like with what to do and all that. So I just kind of follow the suggestions of Martine and Kristen and Rojo sometimes and stuff. So yeah, any help, any suggestions is appreciated.
Do you want to tell us about Democracy is Indigenous?
Yeah. So that's one group that I'm involved with, is called Democracy is Indigenous, DFW. So they have different groups, but the one that I'm a founding member of is Dallas Fort Worth, and it's to drive up the not just voting numbers amongst the American Indian and Native populations, but also just political interest in general, because a lot of our people, because of historical wrongs and mistrust and all of that, a lot of times we would rather just sit out politics altogether. And so we're trying to encourage people to get involved in the political process, as far as voting, knowing what you're voting for, knowing who you're voting for, getting to know candidates, and then also getting involved as far as running for office, things like that. So it's a big uphill battle. I mean, we're trying to get into spaces and just have people even just let us offer to help register people to vote, and all of that is very new to us, new to our community. There's a lot of, and I struggle with myself, as maybe even some other in this meeting, with it doesn't ever really feel like there's candidates that are for us, even when they are for us. They're not really just for us, they're just not as against us as another candidate. So we're just trying to get people more involved and trying to point out, hey, no, this person is actually for us. And yeah, so that's what Democracy is Indigenous is. So yeah, so like Perla said, like yeah, you don't feel like they represent you. I mean, we're a low percentage of the population. We have very low income, and we've been historically disregarded and things like that. So a lot of times a candidate will just flat out kind of pat you on your head and let you know, like, oh yeah, we because they want to know what we can bring to the table to them. Like, well, we can't necessarily bring a lot, but now starting in 2020, and what Democracy is Indigenous and some other groups is doing, is showing that in these very, very close elections, or elections where people don't really vote a lot in rural areas and things like that, that we are able to sway a vote. You know, we are able to affect change, and so hopefully we can keep getting that message out there, and hopefully you all in here will see the value of Indigenous people. If you're not Indigenous yourself, at least seeing the values of what we bring to the table. And I appreciate everyone who is in here and who is asking for our support or getting to know us more. And yeah, so that's it. So yeah, I'll figure out more about how to run a campaign and all of that. I really didn't know what was all involved with that. So
The whole thing, Steve, you need a whole platform. You need it.
yeah, see, I didn't know. Yeah, we'll talk about it on the side. Like,
No, I'm joking. You're good. You're good.
yeah, I'm like I don't know.
Little bit. He has already a logo and everything, so I think he can give you probably more advice on like the requirements. So definitely a good conversation to have. But I did want to say that I dropped on the chat also the link for the work that you're doing with the school board and with approving the course, the Native American Studies. I don't know if that's still active. I know that it was for the April meeting and it was not on the agenda. Do you have any updates on that, Stephen?
Wait, what was that again? On the what?
I dropped the link for the Action Network petition that you'll have for the Native American Studies. Let me drop.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So the next school board meeting is in June, and we're actually meeting on Friday to know more about that. So what that is for those who aren't familiar, and if you're not familiar and you're running for office in Texas, hopefully you get familiar. There's a American Indian. It's called American Indian / Native Studies course. We started developing it back in February of 2020. And it was actually an initiative that was brought to our community by the State Board of Education to start a American Indian Studies course that would be offered statewide in Texas high school. And they selected Grand Prairie ISD as the, which, if for those who aren't familiar with Grand Prairie, it's a suburb of Dallas. It's right outside of Fort Worth and Dallas. We consider ourselves more Dallas suburb than Fort Worth suburb, but and so I got involved in that and helping develop the course because they wanted community members to help. They didn't just want academics. They didn't just want historians. There's a mix, and we developed the course from the ground up. And starting about 2022. We had it because in the beginning we had developed basically a course that would be like a college level curriculum. And after a lot of back and forth with the TEA and the State Board of Education, we made it to where it was a course that could actually be taught in high schools. And it's been taught in Grand Prairie, Burleson, and one other school district for the last, I think, 2 school years. Students love it. It passed what would be called the pilot and went into innovative course. Everything was moving along fine all through the steps. We're following step by step what the state requires of us. And then the next step it would be for it to get accepted into like full course status, where it could be offered any district, statewide. Here's the curriculum. You know, we also train teachers, you know, all of that. And since last summer, when it was supposed to move on to the next step, which would be for, they call it the first reading. So for the public to be able to see the curriculum and offer suggestions, things like that, it keeps getting stalled out. The State Board of Education will not push it forward to the next step. They had it on the agenda. They removed it. They switched. Governor Abbott appointed a new State Board of Education chairperson. This chairperson plays the role of, I'm a dummy, I don't know anything, and I need to learn all about this course before I can move it on. And now it's become politicized when it wasn't really. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Aaron Kinsey. So it's politicized when initially it wasn't. This course, the state asked for the course. This was under the, you know, of course, the Abbott administration. Trump was still president. And then now all of a sudden it's very politicized, and we have to play the game with SBOE members, who will vote for who. And all this petition that Rojo dropped in the chat is asking for is, we just want the state to put it on to the next step, which is the reading, so that if there are things, because now they're starting to say that it has like CRT in it and things like that, things that for 4 years were never ever discussed. And they've been involved the whole time. This isn't like a rogue thing. This is something that's actually following all the steps, being offered in school districts, all of that. And so the reading, the next step, is just for that, for the public to get to offer their opinions and offer things. They're holding it up. They're not letting it go to that step. So we're asking that as many people as possible share this petition, sign this petition. There will probably be new things coming out starting after our meeting on Friday of ways to support. But we really just want to get this course where it can be offered statewide. So just if you look over that, and all support is appreciated, and any suggestions on how we can get it to move on to the next step. We always need, whenever they meet in June in Austin, we always need people to go and testify on behalf of the course, because people like myself try to make it, but it just gets tiring going and saying the same thing meeting after meeting. And so new voices help. New voices of support help. So that's it.
Thank you, Steven. See, you did have stuff to share. Vote for him, y'all. Anybody else that is running that would like to now tell us? I know some of you have the opportunity already. And for those of you who are shy, feel free to add it on the chat. We'll read it. But anyone else?
I'll chime in again and say that this is Michael Fladmark, Henderson County and CD5, and I'll be running for state delegate, and I look forward to hopefully being elected by my caucus to represent the state and support the reelection of President Biden. And any support that you can give me for my caucus would be great. I appreciate it very much. And I'm looking forward to learning more about this caucus. I've signed up to attend the caucus meeting. The next hour, I've actually been asked by the county chairs caucus to run the elections for them. And then, of course, following that, there's one more special caucus. And then we run into our actual district caucuses. And I'll be co-chairing CD5 during that. So it's going to be a busy day. And, we look forward for everyone to be able to participate in all the activities and caucuses that they can. We're going to be slammed for time. And we have a new process. I do encourage everyone that if you have not gone out on the state platform, the website, and logged into the YouTube live streaming of the temporary committees, as well as the upcoming permanent committees, there's been a lot of work being done by members from all across the state to support changes to the platform, resolutions that were considered at both the state level and each individual county. So if you have some extra time, see how the sausage is being made, because when we get there, a lot of the work, we'll have a week to be able to review that before the actual convention starts. So please make sure that you all play a very important role. And so we want to make sure that we're all educated and knowledgeable about what we're voting for when we're on the floor. So please give that some consideration. And thank you again for letting me be part of this caucus. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you. I haven't seen anybody else comment, so I think everybody had a chance to kind of also share on the chat when we started. We are coming at 7:55 almost, so 5 minutes or so before our meeting. Kristen, do we have anything else to discuss before we maybe just finish up with some comments and then close the meeting?
I think we probably want to ask if there's anybody coming to El Paso who might like to just be a volunteer during our convention meeting, either just the check-in table. Are there any volunteers here that might like to, if there are, you can email us and our officers. We've got a Google Groups email that we're using that will email all of the officers. I'll drop that in the chat. And so if you'd like to be a volunteer, just let us know. And
A little bit. I don't know if you have noticed, but Kristen worked on a really cool logo that we now have. So we are working on getting our shirts. So for this convention, you'll be able to go back home with your Indigenous Peoples Caucus shirt because we will be official since all of y'all voted in favor of our bylaws today. Which once again, I want to just highlight how big of an accomplishment that is for us since we will be becoming an official caucus right before the convention. But yes, we'll be having shirts. So if you'd like to volunteer, you'll be the first one to get your hands on one of those shirts. Great.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, sweet. Thank you, Michael. Anybody else? Any other comments, questions, concerns? Hot takes before we adjourn? All right. Often we do the acknowledgements right at the beginning of the meeting. I started recently because of a friend of mine highlighted to me how important it is to give people their flowers and kind of like, always provide that. I would like to just maybe call upon maybe somebody here that will feel welcome and call upon to close us out. Not so much to acknowledge, rather that we're here, but the fact that we'll see each other again. Would anyone like to close us out before I call the meeting to be adjourned? Diana, I see you on mute.
Unmute. Okay, good.
Before we close out, I'd like to just thank all of our bylaws committee members who've worked tirelessly over the last 2 years to help write the bylaws. And I really want to say thank you to the nominations committee and Rojo and Taylor for helping credentialize our voting members for tonight's meeting. There have been a lot of members on this team that either helped out a lot in 2022 or 2023. We have some newer members in 2023 who've gotten really involved. And I just want to thank you everyone for being with us over the last term. It's really been enjoyable to work with everyone. So thank you.
I think you did it, Kristen. That was it. We needed somebody to just simply wrap us up.
Yes. And like you said, Rojo, I want to also add another thing in regards to how this is so important for us that we got this major hurdle gone through to right now, especially now that we have approved our bylaws. That is a major headache that has removed out of us because it was a struggle for all of to get through this whole bylaws. It is history we made, history that we were breaking our backs to make sure it was done by today, that you all were able to vote on it and pass it so we can now present it to the next stage to TDP. And I know I read through that our rule is actually coming up to vote at the Parliament Rules Committee that we can become members of the SDC. So please pray that they do vote for it and that we do become members of the SDC, because that is awesome, and can't wait to get to El Paso and see everybody, give everybody a big hug when we get to El Paso. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, everyone. I think I cannot say that enough. You'll be receiving more information from us. Not only that, but Lisha, who's our communications coordinator right now, is not present because they are from the Harris County area, and as some of you know, they've been going through it, right? Another reason why we truly not only need to fix the grid, but we need to start investing in climate resilience. So let's get to that platform, y'all. Let's start fixing this state because there's a lot of work to do.
A lot of work.
I will be doing one-on-ones. So you'll be hearing from us in the following weeks as we approach El Paso, because we want to make sure that you have the link to attend the meeting in the morning, you have the recording, or you're a member and you're part of Slack and you continue to be with us. Because as you heard at the beginning, we have an event coordinators committee, right? So you can help us make these meetings possible and have speakers like we've had before that not only teach us, but also like provide us resources that we can use in our communities. Or you can also join in the future our platforms committee, which will be determining the platform for the Indigenous Peoples Caucus in the years to come. Awesome. So with that, yep, absolutely, yeah. We'll drop this Slack link. Also, you'll be receiving a follow-up from this and follow-up email from this call. I already received some emails from folks that want to volunteer. So thank you so much. We'll get to those and we'll provide some more information to you all. With that, I believe now meeting can be adjourned. Woo! We did it, everybody. And look, right at 7:59.
I'm going to give people a few moments just to grab that Slack link. If there's any other links they missed, just let me know. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording since the meeting is now over.
And in regards to people were asking about